Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Justice with Dr. Genevieve. Today's episode will be focused on Mohbad. Mohbad is a Nigerian singer who recently passed in controversial circumstances. Today, we'll be discussing about lessons learned from events surrounding his passing and after his passing. My condolences to his family, his loved ones, and all those who are affected by this event. The past few days has been incredibly difficult for me, first as a mother and second as an advocate for justice. And I wondered, going through these heartbreaking videos, how did we get here? How did we get here? What did the police do? Why did they not act on his complaint? This young man obviously reported to the police, and the police didn't act on those complaints. What were the factors that made them to ignore those complaints? Would things have been different if they acted? And that's why I'm here, for us to talk about the role of the government in securing the life of their citizens. When we talk about social contract theory, a tacit agreement between citizens and the government defining their rights and duties. Now we talk about, prior to social contract, what we had was a state of nature where, according to Hobbes, there was no enforceable criteria of right or wrong. People took for themselves what they could. The period was, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. And so people came together and relinquished their right, their liberty into a sovereign to be protected by that sovereign. In linking the social contract theory to the preamble of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it states clear that Nigerians had willingly and collectively surrendered their respective freedoms and liberties to the government of Nigeria in return for protection of their lives, property, and the provision of guarantees to enjoy certain natural rights like the right to life, right to freedom of expression, right to freedom of movement, and others. This presupposes, therefore, that the 1999 Constitution subsists as the legally binding contract between government and the people of Nigeria. Again, by Section 14, Sub 2 of the Constitution, the Nigerian government has the primary obligation of securing the lives of Nigerians and promoting their welfare. When we take it further to Section 214 of 1999 Constitution, a primary responsibility of a police officer is to act as an official representative of government who is required and trusted to work within the law. The fundamental duties of a police officer include serving the community, safeguarding lives and property, protecting the innocent, keeping the peace, and securing the rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice. In performing these duties, a police officer shall perform all duties impartially, without favor of affection or ill will, and without regard to status, sex, race, religion, political belief, or aspiration. And I ask again, how did we get here? What made the police to ignore the cries of this innocent man? And this brings me to the struggles and pains of so many other young people and other people who are unable to get justice in Nigeria. You report cases to them and they want more from you. They look at people who have connection, who have wealth, who have all at their disposal, to the detriment of the poor, the weak. The police clearly ignored this young man because he was battling against those who have more power than him. If we can look at Mohbad today as a fairly successful young man. And he had this same experience of being ignored by the police, unable to get justice for himself. Then you can imagine what ordinary citizens who are not celebrities, who have no money, who have no connection, who have nothing. You can imagine what the experiences will be. I had a study on experiences of offenders within the criminal justice system, and those experiences were shocking. This will come in another day, but today let's talk about Mohbad and the experiences he had. What do we have to do to get justice in Nigeria? It's obviously clear that despite these legislations that should have been guiding the police, they are not being guided by these legislations. They are being guided by other factors like money, corruption. Would this case have been different if Mohbad was a wealthy man, a known man, a powerful man in society? Of course, yes. They failed him. He was failed by the government. He was failed by the same people who ought to have protected him. And this brings to how many other people, how many other Mohbads, how many other people in Nigeria fails to get justice in the hands of the police. We talk about people disappearing. You look for your loved ones, you don't get to see them again. What happens to them? And so we need to hold these people accountable. They failed Mohbad. Who are the people Mohbad reported to the police officers? What has happened to them? We can hold them accountable for failing him and for failing other Nigerians. Because we talk about Mohbad today, there are so many people we don't talk about who have gotten the same fate like Mohbad. I love the unity in our voices this time. Everyone is talking about justice for this young man. We must not let this fire in us to quench after this case. Another thing to be learned from this is the importance of postmortem, what we call autopsies. Autopsies give you answers, answers to questions you have about why. And the importance of it cannot be overemphasized. It can also help in research. It can also help to get justice for the deceased. Because if autopsy points at a foul play, it's an opportunity for investigation to be done. Section 58 of the National Health Act has listed instances where autopsy can be performed on an individual, such as where the disease has willingly given the consent before the death, or in some cases relatives who are not below the age of 18 can give consent. And when the examination is necessary to ascertain cause of death, such as when there is death within 24 hours of arriving in the hospital, or a sudden and unexpected death, or a death that happens in controversial circumstances, then autopsy should happen in those cases. There are some cases where families might object to postmortem being done on their loved ones. However, we must understand that the social contract I talked about is between the individual and the government. And in that case, the police have a duty to step in and ensure that postmortem is done on the citizen, which means the decision of the family will have to bow to the legal obligation of the police to conduct an autopsy and ascertain what happened to the citizen. Another thing we have to talk about is parenting responsibilities for low-income parents. Low-income parents without any government support. What happens is when people have children and the parents cannot meet up to the needs of those children, you find that the children end up taking adult responsibilities, trying to look for money in order to fund their own dreams and aspirations, like the case of Mohbad. He at some point became a carpenter in order to fund his music. And in assuming adult responsibilities, don't forget that these are children who are not mature enough to do a proper risk assessment. In assuming the adult responsibilities of fending for themselves and for their younger ones, or for even their parents, they can take decisions that will end up affecting the rest of their lives. What I'm talking about here is, first, the government needs to support these low-income families to raise their children. Secondly, parents need to be so close to their children in order to guide them through this moment, through this period. Because the decisions they take can affect them. Like in the case of Mohbad, if he wasn't under any immense pressure to make it and take care of his younger ones and his parents, probably, he would not have gone into the wrong record level. And so we as parents, we must ensure that we are there physically, emotionally, and financially for our children. And the government, I keep calling on you to assist low-income families in raising their children by providing resources for them to support them in this journey, so that we do not end up having more children taking up adult responsibilities without proper risk assessment. In doing this, it will save a whole lot of issues like what has happened in the case of Mohbad. I do hope that through this video we've learned one or two things about our rights, our social contracts, the obligations of the government for us, and our own duties to abide by the laws of our country. I do also hope that we will not let this zeal, the fire we have for justice, to quench. Thank you.